Hi everyone, in today's video I'm going to talk about why microfiction is important. Yeah, that's what I'm going to talk about. So the first reason, I don't know if you notice one thing, but with content out there now, there is TikTok, and with TikTok there is shorts, and then there's reels, and just basically vertical video. It's less than 6 seconds, and boom, 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 you've gotten the value of it, like it's there. So for me to say that microfiction is the quote unquote the TikTok of literary writing. One thing you notice about microfiction is that it's less than 300 words, which means that depending on your reading speed, in less than a minute or so, or more, you're done with reading it. Yeah, so it's suited for the digital age because a lot of people out there, they're creating and they're writing, but then with microfiction you can right on the digital age. Like everything is changing and attention span is reducing and locked. It doesn't mean that people don't read novels and read short stories, but microfiction is still a way to get to people and to get people to start reading. It's suited with digital age. Yeah, that's one of the reasons and the importance of microfiction. Now, microfiction, it's important both to writers and readers. And the second reason why microfiction is important is that it helps us to hone our writing skills. Because when you're writing microfiction, at that point in time, you cannot write nonsense. Now, what I mean by you cannot write nonsense, and I have to clarify that, is if you're putting in filler words to just fill a lot of stuff, words that are not necessary, what will happen is that you would not have words to write your story, the story itself, the conflict itself, the plot itself. And when that happens, well, you don't have a story, you just have words. And so I think it's easy to indicate that you're going out of line. It's easy to indicate that you don't have a story, that nothing is happening. While for a short story and all that, yeah, it's there. It's different. Yeah. And with microfiction, you can get to finish a lot. Like if you say you want to write a microfiction, it's feasible to write a microfiction every day. It's feasible. Like you can do it. But to write a short story every day or a novel every day, I don't really know how feasible that is. But with microfiction, you can get to write a lot. Notice, okay, this is the plot. I've noticed that, oh, this is how this works. This is brilliant. This is wonderful. I love that, and it's incredible, which is great. The other thing is, with microfiction, it is accessible to both writers and readers. Yeah. With microfiction, you can get to send your work out to people and they can easily read it and you can get feedback as a writer. Same thing as a writer, you can get started easily with, like, it's easy to read, like it's just there. Yeah. For most microfiction out there, it's easy. Like accessibility is like you can get to read out there without, even if you don't have that much time and all that to read it or even to write it, you can work on it, which is wonderful, which is great and really, really encouraging. The other thing is with microfiction, it encourages experimentation. Now, think of let's say you're a scientist, for example, you want to do experiments. Most of the experiments will cost money and it will cost time. Most importantly, it will cost money and it will cost time. Now, why would it cost money? It will cost money because you would need raw materials for those experiments. But when it comes to writing, you need words. Yeah, of course, you need the plot, you need the storyline, you need ideas, but you need words. Words are like the raw material in which you write. Now, of course, you write in laptop, but software, you write on paper, but those things are really, they're not really there. They cost money, but the cost is not so much high, such that we don't even talk about it. Yeah. So that's not really, because most of us, we have a phone to write. We can write with that pen or we can write with that keyboard. Either of those will be accessible to us. And depending on how rich you are, you could have a keyboard. If not, you could have a notebook. But that's not really the issue. When it comes to encouraging experimentation, you have the words which are free. More like inside, as a scientist, you need to buy raw materials. You need to spend money for raw materials and all those things. Depending on the experiment you're doing, if you're probably doing, if you're a medical personnel or a pharmacist who's looking for a drug, you need guinea pigs, you need test subjects and all those things. Those things are a lot of complicated stuff that you have to spend a lot of money from, and legal stuff too. But then the most important thing is you need time, because yeah, in order to experiment you need time, and depending on how huge and how big the experiment is, you need time. When it comes to microfiction, it's about 300 words, so it's not that much cost of words to use, and something you can write in probably 5 minutes or less. So what happens then? It means that you can say, okay, what if I write a story like this? You can say, okay, I want to write a story in which it's first person. You could do it first person, second person, third person, and then say, oh no, I want to change the character. I want instead of the man to be the one telling the story or being from the perspective of the man, I want it to be an observer, probably the wife or someone else just telling the story. Yeah, that way you can experiment and write 5, 10 versions of it. But if you're reading a 15,000 word story, writing the second one person is, you can do it, but it's not as, there's time cost and all those other things there. Yeah, and it's very high. Especially if it's a novel, it's high. So why it can be done, it's not as easy to do. So unlike microfiction, with that is really, really easy. You get to experiment, which is great and wonderful. The other thing is, one thing about microfiction is that it captures memories and emotions. Like if you've read microfiction before, like it's a snapshot, like it captures memories and emotions, which is a good thing in a way, because most times I see microfiction as a story that can lead to other stories. When you write microfiction, you can actually look back and say, wow, I can actually turn this into a long form short story. Yeah. It's a snapshot. Is like, it's, if you wanted to trap your ideas, the perfect way to trap your ideas and to preserve your ideas is to write a microfiction. Yeah, that's the best way. And then the next thing is, you can use it to provide immediate gratification. Yeah. So with microfiction, it gets to provide immediate gratification both for the reader and the writer. As the reader, you get to finish a work of fiction very fast and quickly. So what I mean with immediate gratification is, as a reader, once you read, like, it's easy to read, and you feel that feeling that you've completed microfiction, which is a good feeling. And then as a writer too, when you finish microfiction, you feel that you finished the project, which is also a good feeling and encourages you to keep writing. And it's like, when you finish work, you feel there's this feeling of, I've made progress, which is a good feeling. Like, it inspires you to do more, which is great. And then the other thing is, it trains critical reading skills. Like, reading a piece of microfiction of probably a famous author and analyzing it is easier. Now, I'm not going to say that when I mean easier, it's not like, oh, there's no work to be done. No, but I mean that relatively compared to every other thing there, it's easier because you can easily read it, analyze it, and some of the exercises would have in English, you were excerpts of a story from a bigger story. But then that's not what microfiction is per se. But some of these stories, they had a phone on their own that they could live on their own somehow. They're probably like a cell in the big organism. I could probably say they were microfiction because they had like everything. And so these were stories that were read and they were used to test comprehension skills and all that for a reader and all that. So it can help to improve your reading skills and all the stuff, which is great in a way. Yeah. And most times you could use microfiction examples as to teach in schools and all that. Okay, the next one, it's kind of similar to the digital age number I mentioned earlier on, which is that it fits modern publishing trends. Nowadays, there are a lot of magazines that are willing to take microfiction. There are a lot of magazines that are willing to publish microfiction simply because probably it's easier for them to read and access. Other reasons being that you get to publish a lot of work, and there are various reasons why people publish microfiction. But it's trending out there. It's popular. People love to read it, and people love to write it too. So you might as well just write microfiction and get it out there too. And if you've not read microfiction, you should try reading microfiction. And also, I would recommend is Lydia Davis. Lydia Davis. Yeah, they've written a lot of exciting pieces of work. And the next thing I'll talk about is microfiction. It democratized literature, because with microfiction, it's easier to get in the game. By the time you start 200 words, 500 words, 1,000 words, you're like, dude, I don't even know what I'm doing. I don't know where I'm going to. But with microfiction, 300 words is something you can write and write and write over and over again and get. So it's easier to get in the door. It's easier to get started. It's the same thing as a reader, as a writer. So it's out there for everyone and anyone willing to write. And of course, it doesn't mean that anyone and everyone will just write something great. It's a skill that must be mastered. Yeah, that I must say. But it's easier for everyone. It's accessible for everyone, which democratizes it. Everyone can play in the game too. And then the last one is it pushes the boundaries of storytelling. Before we used to know that short story. Now we've talked about flash fiction, and then there's microfiction. So what is possible, we do not know yet. But when trying, exploring, texting formats and other things, then we find out what is possible. And yeah, microfiction is really exciting, yeah, because then it changes a lot of things. And with over digital age and everything changing, it gets to push the boundaries of storytelling, which is great. So that's the reasons why microfiction is important, the benefits of microfiction, and why you should write microfiction or read microfiction. So I'll put a link to the blog post if you want to read the full blog post. And you can also join my newsletter if you want to get updates of my writing progress. Yeah, basically that. Until next time, keep writing.